Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are here. It is now. And it is time for another episode of the Alter Your Health podcast, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Alter. Thank you so much for pausing for a moment and taking this time to be with me and share this hour or so on this podcast journey. And if it's your first time stopping through, welcome. I do appreciate your presence and being here. And feel free to subscribe, to rate, and to review this podcast wherever you're tuning in from. And also, you can feel free to share it. You know, this gift of inspiration and information can be uplifting for friends, family, loved ones. So share the love, will ya? And I'm excited to dive into this conversation with my guest today and dear friend, Jason Hall. Jason and I go back about 8 years to our studies together at the University of Santa Monica in the spiritual psychology program. Jason has been on a journey, as we all have, and his journey has led him into his calling, which I really do believe and see him flourishing in it as a soul coach. So as a soul coach, Jason is a firm believer that we as human beings are at our core joyful, loving, and creative. And most of us just simply aren't aware of this fact because we are stuck in our heads, buying into beliefs that are false and limiting. These limiting thoughts also have a nasty habit of stopping us from creating the life that we desire. So that's where Jason comes in to support you in identifying and breaking through these kind of things. And I think that we all conceptually understand how we can hold ourselves back, but it really does serve us greatly to have a neutral, compassionate, supportive presence like a coach, like a Jason, to point out our blind spots and pull us into the fire. And that's the name of Jason's business, Into the Fire Coaching. In this conversation, one thing that I really got out of it, how it can be very, very powerful to jump feet first into the fire, so to speak, out of the comfort zone, into something new, stretch ourselves. But at the same time, it can be really powerful as well to lean into the fire and to take baby steps and just listen and follow intuition in that sort of way. So there are different ways of following your passion and following your path. And this conversation is all about that. We get to know Jason a little bit, his path, his journey, his coming into his calling at this point in his life. You can learn more about Jason at www.alter.health/episode 110. This is episode number 110. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. So enjoy this one with Jason, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review if you do in fact enjoy it. And just a note, the audio is suboptimal in this conversation. I think Jason's headset was a little dangly and I didn't really pick up on it too much when I was talking with him. But when I went back and listened to it, it was a little bit, suboptimal, let's just say. In any case, things are not always perfect here on the Alter Your Health podcast, but I do truly appreciate your willingness to go along for this ride with me and enjoy the imperfections, and I do value your time. So let's dive into this conversation, dive into the fire with our guest today, Jason Hall. We're doing it. So Jason, I just want to first welcome you to the Alter Your Health podcast. I am really excited to connect after some months of and maybe years of separation and kind of reconnect here and get to know the work that you're doing a little bit more intimately, and also provide a platform for other people to know, because I think it's powerful stuff that you've always been into. So anyways, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So Jason, where do we start? I mean, we go back to USM days. We started University of Santa Monica in 2011, which can't believe that's 8 years ago. And just throwing numbers out there. Just 8 years. But yeah, I mean, so what brought you into that program? I mean, like, you've been on kind of a spiritual journey, obviously, throughout your life. But like, how did it manifest in a way that brought us together?
Sure. I love talking about my time at USM. It actually first started in 2005, where I did the first year, which basically came about because I had no idea who I was or what I was doing on this planet. I was really struggling with a sense of purpose, and after graduating high school, not knowing what I want to do, what direction I want to head, and just laying on the floor, staring up at the ceiling, going, why am I alive? And that existential crisis um, really drove me. That pain drove me into just trying to find avenues of discovering who I truly am. So yeah, going through the first year at USM was pivotal as far as showing me how much I didn't know about myself. And fast forward years later, decided it was time, because that pain started to grow again, and because I didn't finish USM, and it was growing time for me to come back and finish, and that's where we met
Yeah.
and connected. And first year was, I did the first year over again, and it was great because I came at it from a different vantage point. I knew some more about myself, a lot of the issues. And I remember first time going through USM, I was like, I don't know if I have any issues because I'm not in touch with what's going on inside of me. It's just like, oh, sorry guys, there's nothing going on here. But yeah, once I came back, that's when I was like, oh yeah, okay. Now I know what's going on a little bit more, and now I can dive into the work and really use the tools that we were given to clear,
Yeah. So
heal.
what's that pain that you kind of, referenced, there was some pain that kind of brought you into the program, and then that pain you said kind of resurfaced. What is that, or was that, or how does that feel, or what did it look like and taste like? And, I think that
It
we can
was
probably all relate, but yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, the pain really was stemming from a couple things. Number one, it was living in fear day after day for a long time, just having this social anxiety, this fear of not being enough, this fear of not being loved, or not being lovable as I am. And um, really feeling myself compartmentalizing myself and putting myself into this box of best not be seen, playing invisible, playing small, so as not to risk being ridiculed or judged. I was just so scared, and to a certain degree still do feel this sense of fear of being judged, and just not being enough. And just the pain of that, and isolating myself from people, not really venturing out. And, I mean, I would go on adventures, and I would go travel the world, and I'd try new things. But as far as the things that really mattered and gave substance and joy to my life, such as, you know, human contact and relationship, that wasn't really there to a strong degree because I was just so scared. And so there was that element, as well as what I alluded to earlier of I wanted to know what I'm going to do now that I graduated high school and I have my whole life ahead of me. What am I supposed to do now? What All these people seem to know what they're doing and where they're going, and at least it looked that way, and I have nothing. And I'm working a bunch of jobs that I don't really care about, that don't matter to me, and I'm like stuck. I'm just stuck on this idea that there's something out there for me that has purpose and meaning. And I just wasn't willing to put myself in a position of, I'm going to work in an office job, I'm going to get a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, work my way through the corporate structure. And I was like, that just doesn't feel like it's for me. And struggling with that sense of, do I do my own thing? Is there such a thing as living my passion, my purpose? Is that real? Or do I have to just acquiesce to societal norms and just do what a lot of other people are doing and play it safe, but slowly die? It's this, to a certain degree, I still kind of struggle with it, but now I feel like I'm tipping in favor of it is possible to live my dream, to do something of purpose and value.
Yeah. So fast forward 14, 15 years almost, um, you know, could you talk a little bit about your experience and relationship with that sense of purpose in your life now versus 15 years ago? You said
Absolutely.
you kind of sometimes like regress or feel that creeping in, but overall, what is that relationship like nowadays?
So life is pretty exciting right now, I have to say, because I feel like I have finally found something that is imbuing me with that sense of purpose. And after I'm done doing it, and I'll just say coaching. So I'm a soul coach, and doing that work, I am supporting people in discovering the truth of who they are through the use of going after goals, physical world reality goals. We work on both the what's called the soul line and the goal line of life. So goal line meaning we're going after the physical world reality goals, whatever that is: losing weight, getting a new job, fill in the blank. Along that journey towards whatever goal that you have in mind, there's also the soul line, which is the awareness of who we truly are. And it's been my experience, and through USM and other modalities, I have had direct experience of, oh my God, I am so much more than just a human being that is just here, just living. There's actually, when my mind when my mind and body are emptied out of all the fears, doubts, worries, and insecurities, what's left over is this sense of peace, of joy, of expansion. And after getting a taste of that, there was really no turning back. That is what drove me forward into coaching, because I finally realized that, oh, there is a way to support people in getting in touch with the truth. Everyone has this essence, this soul inside that is joy, peace, love. It's there. And for me to support people in seeing how they get in their own way and what stops them from this awareness and what stops them from achieving the results that they want in their life. I just had a client the other day where after I was done, I was just like, I love work. And I have not felt that way for a long time. Maybe sporadically in other jobs, I felt that like, oh, this is nice. But after doing the coaching, it's like, there is something here. There is something so magical, and supporting people and getting in touch with what it is that really matters. Because we only have one life. We're dropped here in these bodies, and we get this short period of time. It's like, what are we going to do with this life? And to bring people to the heart of the matter is what brings me joy and aliveness. And that's what really matters to me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So it sounds like through supporting others and connecting with their authentic selves, their joy, their love, their peace, you're experiencing more of that yourself personally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, from first meeting you, obviously, we met in the context of spiritual psychology program, and everyone's, pretty deep and feely and touchy. And you, I feel like to me, you stood out from the crowd to me. Well, not only for a number of reasons. Of course, we're kind of both younger males, which is not the general typical demographic in that program. And you also were like the most raw and real. I feel like everyone to some degree kind of has a little bit of a mask that they're showing the world, but the Jason that I have always known is just like the most real human being. Do you feel like you've always been that way in the world? Just like this real, raw man?
Absolutely not. In fact, I was just having a conversation with someone the other day of how I used to lie a lot. I used to put the masks on and try to appear a certain way, and to a certain extent still do. I mean, even with this podcast, prior to jumping on this call with you, feeling those familiar fears of how am I going to look? How am I going to show up? Am I going to sound eloquent? It took a heavy period of my life to really realize the consequences of having that mask on, and to be inauthentic. And I went from one end of the spectrum to the other to being hyper honest, and which wasn't necessarily the greatest thing either. There were some consequences of that. So it's like, now it's this finding this middle ground of rather than swinging from both ends, just finding the balance point of knowing when to speak, when to be silent, when to share that authenticity, because it's not necessarily for everybody. But it's definitely been something that I appreciate so much more about my life is to just to be real and honest, because I that is an act of self love. I feel like, for me to trust that what is going to come forward is enough, that I am enough, and that what's going to be said may have value for some, may have value for maybe just me, and to let that be okay, and to be at peace. It all comes back to just me feeling at peace, because when I'm starting to try to edit, and I'm catching myself, during this talk, like I said, of just, what am I going to say next? It's like that fear. It's this noticing myself living in fear versus being at peace. And where do I want to live? And well, if I want to live in peace, I suppose that means that I need to let go and trust. Like, oh my God, what what a way to live, to just drop into a place of, I trust myself. I trust the universe. I trust that whatever needs to come forward is going to come forward. And it feels so much better. It just feels really good. And I really appreciate it. It touched me deeply to hear you say that about me. So thank you. I love being noticed. I love being seen.
Yeah, the ego's like, oh yeah, I'm authentic.
Yeah. Oh God, I love that. Tell me more about myself. And like being okay with that. I love having this bubble of space for my ego, and to not beat the crap out of myself for having ego, or making myself wrong for, like, yeah, you know what, I really love being seen. I love being validated, and learning to validate myself, starting there, and then just, if anybody else keeps some of that validation on, it's just the cherry on the top.
Yeah, I think what I really hear you saying is just how you're seeking a good feeling. It sounds like, I mean, we all are.
Yeah.
And like the most reliable way to achieve that good feeling is being authentic, because it's like very reliable, dependent. It's like, we know that if we are honest, in integrity, regardless of what happens, hey, there's just a good taste, a good feeling. And I think we can learn to trust that as we live and experience and experiment a little bit. It's like we're learning to trust that.
Yeah, I love that word, experiment, because I feel like that's a perspective that I love to hold about just being alive and being in this world. And it's like, this is our experimental laboratory. And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of my work is about. It's like, hey, let's go out there and let's just try things out. And let's get messy. Let's give ourselves permission to go there, so that we can discover something new. And if we give each other permission to be messy, it's like, what a world we can live in, to just enjoy being alive and enjoy being playful, and come back to being kids again to a certain extent. And that's something that is really important for me at this point in time in my life, is like, how do I enjoy this ride more? What's getting in the way of me just appreciating and looking around, and like savoring all the details of what's going on, one precious life. And I don't know if I get tomorrow, so that, death, how important that is for me to get in touch with what truly matters, and how I want to be alive, how I want to be, and how I want to act, and some really good stuff.
I love how you brought up the term being messy in life, which is like I don't know, that feels exciting, to like make a little mess with life, not not an out of control mess, but like, hey, it's okay to make a mess, and we can clean that up. And if having that sort of that easygoing sort of feeling with regard to life in general seems like a good place to live from. So I'm curious, with regards to messes in life, what would you say have been like some of the messes that you've made in your experimental laboratory thus far?
All right. So such a good question, because I feel like the first thing that comes up is relationships. So I've been single for a long time. I was engaged 12 years ago, 11 years ago, and had been single since, and had met somebody that has really helped me get back on the horse and learn what it's like to be in a healthy relationship, and because I was absolutely terrified of getting back into something. I had such a painful experience in the past, and I didn't want to get burned again, and I was scared of all that unresolved stuff that was still there. So being in relationship with this person, and Well, the messiest part I'd say is communication that, you know, I'm sure you've experienced in your own relationships of we're two different people. We have two different ways of living. Disagreements can happen, triggerings can happen. She's triggered me and in many regards, and just and that's been the biggest part of like, oh, here's something inside of me where I feel contracted and constricted, and I'm upset with that person, and I have judgment, and like, now what do I do? Because I don't want to talk about it because then there might be conflict. And but really that was the beauty in being somebody who has the emotional maturity to hold my messiness, and for me to own my own messiness, to show up and say, look, this is what's coming up inside of me. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is what's coming up, and I want to explore it with you, and I want to like bleh, dump it out on the table, put the contents on the table, sift through it together and see where's their truth, where's their falsehood. And there have been times where I feel like I've done a really good job of owning my part, but there have been moments where I get defensive, and but fortunately she's just like, okay. She's able to hold space, and for me to just kind of bumble around and kind of find my footing. And it's just like been a very slow process, but I'm getting stronger and stronger at just and more confident about just being like, look, this is that authenticity of this is my experience. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And let's work through to the other side versus like, I'm just going to keep this inside. I'm going to hold on to this, and then it's going to just accumulate in my body. And that doesn't feel good either. That is so much worse than actually speaking my truth and having a dialogue. And,
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it sounds like you are making messes in relationship, just like these, I like the kind of the image of just spilling it out on the table, just like putting it out there. And when you do that, you can do it and it can look messy on initial kind of glance, but you got to put it out there in order to clean it up. Otherwise, the mess that's manifested on the insides when you hold it in, as you're kind of pointing to, just that sort of mess really leads to, has negative side effects and consequences. When the mess is outside, it's like, oh, like it doesn't look as scary and daunting. We can manage that.
It really helps. I mean, it really, really helps to have a partner who has the willingness to an emotional responsibility to look at that mess together and not be reactive, and to have this mutual sense of respect and like, hey, let's come together and put all these Jenga pieces back together into this cohesive structure that can integrate. And it's been a scary yet hugely rewarding process.
That's awesome. I'm happy to know that you are in a relationship again. I know that there's been a lot of dancing around, literally and figuratively.
Most people in my life are like, are you ever gonna get together with somebody like for longer than a month? It's like, yeah, it's finally happened.
Hey, all right. That's awesome. So maybe shifting gears a little bit into your soul coaching stuff, which another thing that I'm just happy to see you embracing and flourishing in. I know that you were a body worker, that was kind of, you were doing a lot of body work, and as well as other odd jobs, like you've said, throughout the course of your life. So could you share a little bit more of your journey of embracing this new calling of yours as a soul coach?
Absolutely. It really started. One of the things I was really jealous about growing up and seeing people who had this sense of clarity about what they wanted to do was exactly that. It was like, oh, they have clarity, and playing this comparison game of like, I don't have that, and I want that. I want that sense of direction and purpose. And I got to have that experience through going through a program, this transformative program, that showed me, as I was watching the people around me have these experiences of connecting with parts of themselves that they didn't even know existed, to watch their faces transform into these big smiles of just like, oh yeah, there's something else going on inside of me, and reconnecting. It was beautiful. It brought tears to my eyes, to see all this happening around me. And it was like a lightning bolt. I was like, this is what I need to be doing here. This is what I'm here to do, is to help facilitate this process, because there is nothing more important to me, at least, I mean, just for my own life, of connecting and owning and trusting, living, being the truth of who I am, and not having it just be a concept that I read about in a self-help book that, oh, I'm a soul. Oh, that's nice. That sounds really good. And USM was pivotal in that, of just turning something from a concept into an actual body experience of, this is who I am. So after having that pivotal experience, so that lightning bolt of like, this is what I want to do, that particular program was more geared into the coaching realm. I had the sense that, I have a psychology background, but I don't necessarily want to be a therapist. I want something that has more forward momentum and movement and more measurable success. So the coaching just felt like a really great next step. And the name of my company, Into the Fire, felt so appropriate. It just, because that was exactly my experience. I was putting myself into these experiences of just stretching myself, pushing myself into things that felt uncomfortable. And that tested me, that really broke apart those self-limiting beliefs of what I think I'm capable of. And I mean, I'm at a loss for words, because it was just reconnecting with how powerful that is, to just have somebody say, hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z in 3 hours, and having us all be like, huh? You want us to do what? I can't do that. How are we going to do that? And then to do it, and then afterwards be left with this feeling of, holy cow, I am so much more powerful than I ever thought. I'm capable. That was such a big part. So then it was like, oh, well, Into the Fire. I mean, I'm going to be a cheerleader. I'm going to be a support structure for people who have these dreams, these visions of what they want to achieve in their life. And I'm going to not only, and that's traditionally what coaching is all about. It's like, how do we get from point A to point B? And what makes my style different, what I love about my approach, is we don't just go from point A to point B, because we can create a structure of how to get there, but really it's more about, what's your relationship to yourself as you go from point A to point B? What's your experience going to be? Are you going to be in hell? Are you going to be this ball of stress and tension and worry and fear? Or do you want to enjoy the journey? Because that's really what this is all about. It's the journey. I mean, I've heard it so many times. It's not the journey. It's not the destination. It's the journey. And it's like, oh, okay, that's actually true. Every step along the way could be this enjoyable experience. So, and that's what I love about life, is it creates this structure of like, okay, that's your goal over there. That's your vision. So along that journey, life is set up perfectly to trigger every single unresolved piece of material inside your consciousness that's going to get in the way, that's going to block your awareness of the truth of who you are. So we're going to work with that stuff in conjunction with getting you to where you want to go. How are you going to relate to yourself is huge. My relationship with myself has been a challenge for me for a big part of my life, of being hard on myself, judging, and really I need to take a step back and say, is this working for me? How does this feel? You said earlier, it's like, I'm going after a feeling. It's exactly right. I mean, fear or peace, the choice is up to us. So choosing from moment to moment to reconnect with my body, to check in with my experience and ask myself, where am I at? Who's running the ship right now? Is it fear? Am I in peace? And reorienting myself. And as a coach, it's such important work to be a support for people as they go along their journey, because a lot of people don't have that intention. They're not even aware of, oh, I can relate to myself in a different way. I can do this in a peaceful way. So that's the big part of my work that I love the most. It's like, how do we create this lush inner landscape of peace, of self-support? Because really at the end of the day, it's just me and myself. I mean, I can get support from the outer world, which is hugely important, but even more so, it's like, if someone's not around to support me, who's going to be there for me? Me. Okay. So reconnecting, loving, supporting, being that parent that I wish my parents would be for myself, and just showing up with love and care.
Yeah, having a knowing of who you are and having a connection with you over the years, I know that all of this that you're talking about and sharing is just the life that you've learned to live with yourself, like these relationships and, embracing the journey and not focusing on any destination, knowing you, that's how you live. So as it sounds like you're just sharing how you live and the empowered place that you live with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
And I'm kind of putting you back on the spot here. Like what? Because we know that it's not it's not about the destination; it's about the journey. So what? Like what's next for you? Like what's this journey taking you on? And obviously it's like, we know that it's important to embrace where we are and live in the now. But where is this new coaching practice taking you, in your journey?
That's a good question. So, and this is the part where I'm having that choice point of like, oh, how much do I share? How much do I reveal about what's going on inside my own process? Because what's running me, my image of myself. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say that this coaching process has triggered most of my insecurities. It has brought up certain elements of how do I relate to success? How do I relate to putting myself out there and making my presence known, offering my services? Because this is something that is just relatively new to me. And, monetary success, that's been something that's I've kind of shirked from. So now it's this process of doing exactly the same thing that I do with my clients, of breaking through those inner barriers of what stops me from really creating the life of my dreams. And am I allowing myself to dream big? I live in Topanga, California, and it's this beautiful, lush landscape. And I just realized the other day, it's like, I want to live here. I want to live here. I want property here. I want a home. And what comes up when I think that, and can I do that? Can I afford it? Blah, 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 blah. So it's coaching myself or finding a coach to support me in breaking through those barriers. And really, I feel like I'm kind of avoiding the question, answering the question. Let's go with ideal.
Yeah, I think you are answering the question. It's like you are using this new step, this new process in your life, the coaching, as a continual means to grow and develop and move through stuff that continues to show up in your life. Like you kind of alluded to earlier in the conversation about, as we live our purpose, there's going to be these unresolved issues that bubble up time and time again. And maybe it's the same thing, maybe it's new things. And it's like, how are we gonna interface with that and use that? And it sounds like you are just continuing to
One
stab
step at
at
a
it.
time. It's just like, it's been this very gradual process. And I remember learning that in school. It's not, it's a process, not an event. And being understanding and compassionate with myself of like, this is something I've struggled with for a long time, and holding myself compassionately as I move through this, and having these moments along the way that have made me say, okay, there's something here. There hasn't been profound monetary success or anything like that yet, but there have been these moments where when doubt has surfaced, I have a coaching session with somebody. I'm like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. And to keep having these experiences of reconnecting with my why. What am I doing this for? What is it about this that really matters to me? And sometimes I've had clients that haven't paid me anything, but after doing a session, I'm like, oh my God, this is what that whole thing feels like, of reciprocating and getting something from giving something, and without having there be any money exchange, and loving that process.
Yeah. I want to know more about your meetup events.
Oh, the meetup. The meetup is something that I've really enjoyed.
Did
So
this
after,
come did it come before you decided that you were going to embrace the coaching on an individual level, or
yeah,
did it
to a certain,
work
yeah, I
out?
think
Yeah.
it did. I mean, at least it was the first actual tangible step that I took
Yeah.
before getting into individual coaching, because I knew that one of the things that I love. I used to live at the Esalen Institute up in Big Sur, and one of my favorite things was at the end of a day, meeting in the lodge and having these in-depth conversations with people about life and just getting into like, hey, how do you live life? I mean, I've been experiencing this and like trading stories and like troubleshooting life and talking about the things that really matter to us. And after having this powerful experience with this transformational program, I went from having this supportive structure to then not having it anymore and wanting to create this and realizing the importance of support, which is something I was not, I was kind of a lone wolf, and realizing that life can be so much easier. This life can be so much easier if we all support one another. If we actually, instead of we became a we and asking for help, asking for support. It is magical, profound stuff. So, Into the Fire meetup came into being, and we meet once a week, come together. It started as this structure of like, let's talk about what brings you alive. What are the things that you want to create in somewhat of a coaching structure of tell me about your vision. Um, where do you want to go? What stopped you? And having everybody in the group get to share where they want to go. And I would get to work my skills and go one person at a time. And then it all of a sudden became this group dynamic of people chiming in and offer. So it wasn't just me at the helm. At first I was like, I'm the leader, I am the coach. And now it's interesting to watch it evolve into this, wow, I can kind of take a step back and chime in when I feel this intuitive hit to chime in. But really everyone has something to offer. There's a little piece. And even when someone shares something, I might be like, you just said exactly where I'm at in my life. I mean, you spoke for me, and I got something from that. So there's something so juicy about having this group experience and sharing authentically and having a safe space to just be real and authentic and just let go and drop the masks and focus on what's important, because this life can sweep me up. It can sweep us up. We can get distracted, and just to have some kind of an anchor to come back to reorient, recenter, and then go back out in the world. It feels really good to have
Yeah. So
to have
this
that.
this weekly meeting that takes place in person in LA area, I'm not exactly sure where, but are the people that are going there and participating, do they share a common goal or purpose, or what's like the flavor or mission that people are on? You talked about, just connecting with what lights them up inside. Is that kind of it, or is there more to it, or is everyone kind of focused on a business growth thing, or like relationship stuff, or is it just anything and everything?
So it has a tendency to shift and change from week to week. Typically, the structure is, and when someone first comes on board and wants to join the group, I have each person create two lists. List three things that you want to create in your life. List three things that truly matter to you that you want to bring into fruition. Goals. And then the second list is going to be list everything that has stopped you, that you perceive to be stopping you from attaining those goals. So it gives people a chance to anchor into something. So there's that common theme of, all right, let's connect to what truly matters. And that varies from person to person. Everyone has a different focus.
So everyone's
Um,
list is different, but
yes,
everyone's got a list, and everyone's
everyone
got
has a
that
list.
everyone's that
Exactly.
got that concrete vision and focus and what they're doing there.
And some people will, some people want to do the complete life overhaul, which is something that I offer in my coaching practice, where we
Yeah.
have a 360-degree view of your entire life, this life map, if you will, of everything that you give energy to, let's find ways of elevating in some regard. And so some people want to take on all of that, and some people want to just do one thing and focus on one element of their life. And then some weeks it's been fun because some people just come in and they're like, this let me tell you about my week. And then that has actually been the most nourishing for me, is to just have a space where someone just tells us about their week, and it starts something, it ignites something, and someone else will chime in, and it'll just become this roundtable discussion where we're just a bunch of humans just sitting down, having a conversation, and talking about life. And that's been juicy. And then hopefully, at least my intention has been towards the end of the meeting to reconnect with action steps. How are we going to take action on the things that you want to create, so that when you leave this room, you're off to the races, you're taking action. And also connecting with how can we as a group support you in your venture, because that's part of the reason why we're here, is to offer support. And we might have that person, that place, the thing that just is the key to you unlocking whatever it is that you're creating. It's magic if we just relied on or asked for support. It's out there. It's all available.
Oh, man. I know. And you're really speaking to something that's hitting true for me as well, is, just this fact that as we evolve into the future, I think a lot of us are putting ourselves on an island where we need to do everything ourselves and we can't reach out for support. And I think technology and social media and the internet can kind of support us in isolating ourselves on this island. It doesn't have to, but that can be, some of our excuses for why we feel isolated. So it's like what you're doing is bringing us back in time to like these really ancient basic practices of being together face to face, holding hands in person, maybe not holding hands, I don't know, but just like being with humans. And I trust that everyone's not like sitting around the circle looking at their phone during these meetings. People are there. And I think that is very valuable and really just a basic important thing that humans need to remember how to do.
Boom, nailed it. To look at it from that perspective, it's just one of my grandest visions for the world, is to have people realize that, not only to realize who they truly are or what they truly are, but also to realize how heaven is on earth. And it can be this beautiful, beautiful place. This is something that's taken time for me to really step into. And I think I probably rolled my eyes quite a bit of this whole, like, let's kumbaya, hold hands and rely on each other. But it wasn't until having direct experience of like, oh wow, this is actually true. I love when that happens, of having something that's just a concept or something I read just become wisdom or direct experience. Because asking for help, putting myself, the Facebook thing, the Twitter thing, yes, it can be isolating and just it can be that, or it can be a source of support.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, we are certainly leveraging the Facebook thing and the online community thing in hopes of kind of providing a feeling that can be achieved in person. I don't know if the full tangible feeling can really be 100% achieved online, but we can move in that direction. But I think that there's just less of that and more isolation in general.
Something I learned, because it's been challenging for me to put these blasts. I'll do these blasts every once in a while on Facebook, and a lot of these people on there, I haven't talked to in years, or I rarely talk to, and this feeling of I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be asking for help, because it makes me realize how I haven't nourished or nurtured connections with people, and I think it's really important for me. I see the value in connecting individually, picking up the phone, the level of fear of just, I remember having to pick up the phone and dialing and talking to another human. And now I'm texting because it feels safer. And I digress. It's just more of connecting with people on an individual level, nurturing those relationships. And I think there's something deeper with that other than just like to the group, blah, this is what I want. And there's something there for me as well.
I've always appreciated the times you picked up the phone and called me, even if it is by mistake.
Oh my God. Is this the right Ben? Oh,
let's talk for an hour anyway.
Am I turning red? I think I might be.
Me too. But in any case, yeah, I think the individual work, the group work, so powerful. And just kind of wrapping things together here, covered a lot of ground in terms of your personal journey and story and how you're now supporting others individually and the group thing. I'm just curious if you feel like there is any applicable words of wisdom or advice for the general public in terms of connecting with the soul calling, the soul purpose. And just on the note of the soul coaching that you do, how could you coach all of humanity right now? I think that there is a collective kind of feeling of being lost, and I don't think that's new, but I think that's just part of being human, is feeling lost. So what kind of words of wisdom could you provide those who are feeling lost and reconnecting with that what's already?
I feel very excited to answer this. Let's
let's
up and
feel your excitement. That's why I want to shut
up. Listen, the word listen popped up. For each and every one of us to slow down. I actually have this tattooed on my arm because it's something that helps me come back home to myself. It's slowing down, breathe, come back to breathing, come back to the body, feeling, sensing. This body, I love somatic work, and I think it's so important that we as a species learn that we learn the language of our bodies, because our bodies, our minds are giving us information constantly. And if we're not paying attention, we're going to miss something. So first and foremost, I would say stop, listen. If there's some part of you that senses that there is something more, something's off, something needs to shift, listen to that. You may not know where to go. You may not know what your next step is, but that is the first crucial step, is slowing down, taking stock of what's going on inside, having the courage to listen, because that can be scary in and of itself. Some people don't want to listen to what's going on. That's why they either numb out on drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever it is. Pick your poison. So finding the courage inside to listen to that. And what's been fun, because I can't say that after all of this work that I've done, all this transformation work and self-help, I don't know. I don't know exactly where I'm going. I've learned some valuable things along the way of how to be with myself and make this journey, like soften the sharp edges of life. And that's really been about nurturing this relationship with self and developing that loving relationship. Those two things, if I just listen and having the courage to jump into the fire of what scares you, to sense inside, I have a curiosity about something's off, I need to find out what it is. Take a step somewhere, just move somewhere, because the act of taking a step in a direction, something will be revealed. It doesn't really matter, because life, and that's where the trust aspect comes in, life is going to provide us with everything that we need in order to elevate our lives. But what the universe is imploring us to do is to listen and to take action. The universe meets us at the point of action. So connecting with how valuable our lives are, how much we truly matter. Our presence matters. That was a huge thing that I've learned. Holy cow. To really connect with my presence matters. And if I was not here, if I could see how my life impacted those around me, maybe I'd love myself more. So please, please, please listen to yourself. Take a step somewhere, lean in. Oh my God, lean in is like the phrase of my life right now, because a lot of times I don't have a clear yes or no. And that's been such a struggle for so long of like, if I listen to my intuition, it's going to give me a clear yes and a clear no, and life will be easy. Nope. Sometimes it has been a clear yes and clear no, but a lot of times it's been murky because of fear or doubt. And for me if I have a curiosity about something, to lean into it, take a step in that direction and see if it feels good. Our body, and that comes back to listening to the body. I feel like I'm going to stop because I could talk ad nauseum of this stuff because it's exciting to me.
Yeah. And
yes, I think it's a good start.
I think we can all experience you lighting up inside as you dive into all this kind of stuff, which signals to me that you're on the right path, and that, not that you didn't know that already, but I can but I can feel it and experience it myself. I do have kind of a question based on what you're talking about and the wisdom that you shared, which I think is powerful stuff. The first point of slowing down, being quiet, being still, and listening. And then you talked about jumping into something that scares you, but you also talk about leaning in. So there's like the jump in, and then there's the lean in. And it seems like, I think that, my interpretation is that you lean to the point where yes or no, and then you jump. But if you could maybe clarify your kind of what you're trying to convey with regard to leaning versus jumping into the fire.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of experience you're ready for, or that I'm ready for. There are certain times in my life where to jump into the fire feels extreme. It feels almost overwhelming. It can be kind of shocking to the system and disorienting. And then to find footing within that particular context versus leaning in. Leaning in is like, I'm going to dip my toe into this water and I'm going to feel how it feels. I'm going to ease in, and my nervous system can relax a little bit, and leaning in feels more gentle versus like, I'm going to do the Navy SEALs version of this experience and I'm going to jump in, which is exactly what this transformational program, that one of them that I did was me jumping into the fire of just, I knew that the pain inside that I was experiencing was becoming too much, and I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to alleviate it. So without knowing really what the program was, I just jumped into it and I said yes. So I think it's what kind of experience do you want? Do you want to just go for it, which might be shocking, or do you want to ease into it, which is more gentle? And so I think both, they're just options.
Yeah, as you're talking, I can kind of appreciate that for some people, and sometimes leaning in might feel like they're jumping in. The small, like putting your toe in the fire or the water might be a big leap. And it's just all kind of contextual and individualized.
Exactly. Completely subjective.
Well, I mean, yeah, we could rip this all apart and dive into this fire together for hours on end, and I would love to and look forward to doing that more in the future. But I really have appreciated this conversation, getting to know this new chapter of yours a little bit more, and I'm excited to witness you, and also know that you are adding such great value to this planet by supporting people in knowing themselves as you do that for yourself. So
thank you. This has been so much fun and exciting and enlivening, and I appreciate you giving me the platform to do this.
Yeah, so I know that you are emerging as we speak into this whole field of entrepreneurial business stuff, and putting yourself out there in the ways that you are. And for listeners out there who might want to connect with you, is there a place that they can do that?
Absolutely.
Or do they have to wait for things?
Yeah. I would give you a website. The website is in process right now. But if anyone wants to reach out to me to work with me, you can email me at intothefirecoaching@outlook.com.
Cool.
I'm also fine with putting my number out there as well. I trust the listening body that's following you. And
I'm not Oprah or anything, so it's you don't have to worry about like phone lines going down.
Right. So yeah, you can just give me a call and we can chat. We'll talk about life and see what's going on and where I can be of service, and maybe I can direct you to other avenues. There's so many different things out there and modalities and that I've sampled and have tasted really good. So 805-490-7749, 805-490-7749. Once again,
Cool.
that's my phone number. So give me a call.
It's like we're wrapping up a little commercial with a jingle.
I'm working on the jingle. The jingle is coming. So
all right, the jingle next episode. The jingle. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this website and all the offerings, and yeah,
me too.
And continuing to see you flourish, like I said. And yeah, thanks for the conversation, and listeners, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to reach out to Jason, but not all at once. And peace and love, and until next time.
Love you, buddy. Take good care.